Hi, this is Anna, and this is Check It at the Round Table, where we discuss movies, books, music, and stuff. Today we are discussing the Netflix movie Marry Me that stars Jennifer Lopez and Owen Wilson. So this is a romantic comedy. It's been getting very low ratings on IMDb, like 2.5 stars. So I watched this because I saw the preview a while ago, and I was going, that looks kind of funny. However, I have to side with the people leaving the low reviews because I'm going, it just doesn't seem real. And I know it's fiction, so I totally get that this is not an autobiographical tale at all. But it lacks, I think, some authenticity. It just doesn't seem, the characters don't seem true in a way, if that makes sense. And it's not because I don't think Mr. Wilson or Ms. Lopez are good actors. I know they're very, very talented, and I'm not blaming them at all. But the script itself just doesn't seem very realistic. So the story opens with a famous singer named Kat marrying another famous singer named Bastian. They're preparing for their wedding, which is going to be viewed by 20 million people online. And she finds out that he ran off and had at least a brief tryst with her assistant, or one of her assistants. She finds this out literally right before she's supposed to go out and marry him on a stage with all these people. Now, I think that this was a little unrealistic for multiple reasons. Number one, I don't see someone that famous, like let's say it were Taylor Swift instead, deciding to get married in front of millions of fans, simply because, no offense, but Taylor's smart enough, and so are most people in the showbiz, to know that things can go terribly wrong last minute sometimes. And you don't want to have to be dealing with that with 20 million people watching. I mean, even if you truly think that that person you're marrying is for you, what if last minute they bail or something happens? No one's going to be crazy enough to have 20 million people view their wedding, unless like they're members of the royal family. I'm going, they do that all the time, but they're used to that, and probably no one's going to bail at the wedding, although they might bail later on. I don't know, just saying. So at the end of the day, she walks out. Again, this just seems totally unrealistic to me, because I'm going, if you just found out that your fiance had ran off, I don't think you'd be going out on the freaking stage. I think you'd be dimming the lights, telling people that, there was an unexpected occurrence. We won't be having this ceremony. But instead, she goes out and she randomly picks a guy, played by Owen Wilson, his name's Charlie in the story, who's holding a Marry Me sign, out of the crowd, and fake marries him. It's not a legal wedding. It's just fake. And she does it because she feels like she wants to do a change, and she might as well marry some random dude since the people she's picked hasn't worked out. This seems like a terrible decision on so many levels. I mean, no offense, I'm like, so many levels. The other terrible decision, I'm going, Owen Wilson's character, Charlie, I'm going, forget the fact that this singer is attractive and loaded. Do you really want to marry a perfect stranger? I mean, even if it's a fake marriage, this seems really obtuse. So, and Charlie has a kid, so I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And then your kid could get all that media coverage they don't need. So anyway, I'm going, yeah. So she and Charlie have a fake wedding. She goes back to her penthouse. He goes back to his house. The next day, she decides she'd like to keep up the fake wedding. She's like, he's a math teacher, she finds out. He doesn't have any criminal record. She's going, he's far more calm and chill than anyone else I've ever been with. We're not actually going to date or anything like that, but it will keep the media press off, and we might as well roll with it. Now, the one thing I did like about this show, though, was the fact that they did cover something in the press conference. I'm going, I do see the validity of. Because there was a moment in the press conference where people were saying, why would you marry some random human? And, all that. And she's going, the character of Kat is like, when you think, and also the character of Charlie, we're going, marriage, when you think about it, when it started, was transactional. It's not a nice thing to think about, but at the end of the day, that's what it was at the beginning. You sold off your cow or heifer in exchange for your daughter, or you got a cow or heifer in exchange for your daughter. And I'm going, nobody likes to think about that. But at the beginning of things, that was kind of what marriages were arranged by. It wasn't about love. It wasn't about passion. It wasn't about any of those things. Now, was that maybe the ideal way for people to end up together and to build their empires, as it were, for like the ancient kings and queens? I'm going, probably not. But also, I look at today's world and I'm going, people say they marry for love, but at the end of the day, are they any happier with their marriage than those who had a transactional marriage? It's debatable. Most marriages end in divorce, like 49% of them. Most people's relationships that are not marriages end in breakups. I'm going, it's not really that much of an optimistic situation, whether you look at it from either angle. But I do think the way that it was handled at the press conference with Kat going, it might not be the best of decisions. Making a choice based on somewhat of a whim is not maybe the best. But also sitting there and going, the choice that, I made with Bastian, knowing him a year and a half, that didn't work out either. My point is that the show did not really address is I'm going, maybe something in the middle, and maybe not dating someone like Bastian in the first place. I'm going, you see Bastian a mile away, he's going to be that kind of person. I'm going, it doesn't take a brilliant person to look at Bastian and go, that guy is going to be running off with any woman that crosses his path. I'm going, it's just so obvious. You can't miss it. So anyway, the other thing that I feel really bad about in the show with Marry Me was Kat throughout the show. She's a self-made woman. She worked her way up in the industry. She got to where she is. But she still feels that she needs to have someone there, which I totally get. But she wants to have Bastian back. I'm going, I don't mean it weird. And maybe it's just because of the way I see things as a high-functioning autistic to bisexual. And maybe it's because I grew up in the Midwest. But I'm like, if I found out that somebody had been messing around, and not just messing around, but messing around with my assistant, I'm going, I wouldn't want to see them again. I wouldn't want to collaborate with them again like they did at the end of the show. I'm going, they'd be lucky that they and I parted ways without me saying some very choice words. And I'm going, also, I would think that there'd be a major prenup required before she would have even married the dude, given their situation. So I'm like, I can't imagine why she wants to go be back with Bastian. I'm going, he has no redeeming quality. Yeah, he can sing like a bird, but what is that worth if he's going to be leaving you for every person that crosses his path? I'm like, seriously. But for some reason, she is enamored with Bastian, which I think is very sad. But the other thing is I'm going, just because she shouldn't be with Bastian doesn't mean that she should be with Charlie. What I mean is Charlie is a very grumpy math teacher. He is trying to take care of his daughter, trying to live his life. And I think that he is a very good person, but they are so very different in personality. I really don't see how someone like Kat and someone like Charlie long-term could make it work, because I think Charlie would cocoon and be grumpy, and Kat wouldn't know how to approach that, as is seen by the end of this movie, when she and Charlie become friends. Then they have like a romantic moment. Then she takes him for his birthday to Coney Island, works with the math class a little bit, and she and him are having a pretty good relationship. But then Bastian comes and says that her song's been nominated for a Grammy that she and him wrote, and they decide to perform it in front of an audience, even though they're no longer together, and even though he basically ran off on her. And I'm going, there is something so wrong and confused by that whole thing. I'm going, seriously, it is just a mess. So anyway, Bastian and her perform the song. Charlie comes to the after dinner party and breaks up with her because he's pretty sure that she's going to run off with Bastian again. And he's like, I just don't fit in your world. You obviously want to be with Bastian. Have a good life. And he leaves. Now, Kat does not go after him. Kat does not do any of this. I mean, no offense, I'm going, I get that people break up. But I'm going, if you break up and you want closure, go talk to that person. You might not get the closure you want, but at least you will have known you tried. So Kat doesn't do any of that. Kat she writes a song, but she meets with Jimmy Fallon on the show with Bastian. And as she's sitting there, she realizes Jimmy Fallon saying like, oh, you wrote this song for you and Bastian. Are you guys getting back together? And she's like, I didn't write the song for Bastian, but it took me this long to figure out who I wrote the song for. And I do have to say the song in this movie, not the Marry Me song, I mean, no offense, I could care less about that one, but the song about, what's it called? Just a minute. Bear with me. On My Way. So the song On My Way, I'm going, I did like that song. That song was like worth watching the movie for, because it basically says you might meet people, you might be going in different directions, but as you're going on different directions, be thankful that they cross your path. And I'm going, that is a nice message. That is true, because sometimes you meet people, there's friendships, relationships, whatever. They're not there for the long haul, and you're not there for the long haul, but you cross your paths, and in doing so, you hopefully make their lives better in the same way they make your lives better, and it's a good thing. I'm like, that was a cool song. So overall, at the end of the day, she tries to get a flight to his mathalon, Charlie's mathalon. She asks him to marry her again with a song. That was kind of cute. Now, I think the only things that I really liked about this movie was the friend of Charlie was very hilarious. I'm trying to think of who she was just right here. Sarah Silverman, I think, was her name. So she was so funny. The actress Sarah Silverman. She made me laugh so hard in the show. So because she is so gung-ho and blunt and hilarious. It's just great. The other characters in the show, I think they did a good job, but it just didn't seem believable. Sarah, totally believable. I'm like, I could so see someone behaving that way. I'm going, maybe it's just some of the people I know, but yeah. But the other thing is there were a lot of like glamour moments where they have like the big house and the big whatever. And I mean, they spend a lot of time shooting scenes of the movie there. But I'm like, the juxtaposition of that to like real life just made it seem strange to Anna. So overall, I give this movie probably a 5 out of 10. It is not because there was anything like terribly inappropriate in the movie at all. You could definitely watch this with the kids. I didn't really like the dance scenes. I'm like, I don't like seeing people in gold Speedos, but that's just Anna. I'm like, it's not something that the kiddies haven't already seen. So I'm like, that really wasn't a troubling thing. I just like, I don't like seeing people in gold Speedos. It's just weird to me. It reminds me of a Cecil DeMille film. Moses, I don't know. Are we in ancient Egypt or something? Okay, anyway. So I give this a 5 out of 10 just because the story, it didn't like make you really think that much, except for the transactional part of marriage. I'm like, that is a very valid point, that everyone thinks that marriage is based on romance when really it wasn't started that way at all. And I'm not saying that marriage is good or bad or indifferent. I think it really depends on the situation. So there you go. But this movie can be watched on Netflix. It stars Jennifer Lopez, Owen Wilson, and of course, Ms. Silverman, who was absolutely awesome. Cannot say enough good about her. So very, very funny. And I think it just came out here like 2 days ago on Netflix because I got the alert, but it's been a bit crazy here, so I haven't watched it until now. But you can watch it again, perfectly fine with the kiddies, but it just didn't feel true. I mean, I don't know how else to say that. And I'm not, again, Owen Wilson, Jennifer Lopez, very talented people. I think they were working with a script that just was hard to work with. Check it at the round table. Bye.